There are two aspects of love. I don't know whether we could talk about that. So one is love which has expectations, and one is love which is for the sake of love itself. I mean, these two counterpoints have always been argued about.
To me, most of it is poetic and esoteric. Another thing is love has so much literature on it, so much poetry, so much of everything, right? Basically, we choose to love, and my idea was that if we love ourselves so much, self-love, that it overflows, and that overflowing means loving others. The discrepancy is that there is not enough self-love, which leads to poorly loving others.
Here, only contradiction that Amya said is applicable, and that is when you love and there is expectation joined with the love, then only problem comes. When there is no expectation and you only love, then there is no problem.
And to not have expectation and love others without expectation, we have to have such high degree of self-love. We don't get into a relationship out of a need. Never get into any relationship
Yeah.
out of a need, but get into a relationship only out of wanting to give. And in order to be able to give love, we have to have enough self-love where our glass is full.
Yeah.
And so when there is 100% self-love, then there is no need left for love from others. We don't need love from others because we already love ourselves so much, right? So then we only give love, meaning we don't love somebody
Yeah.
out of any need, but it's only out of giving. It's just that love leads to attachment. That is the collateral damage and the side effects, or like in prescription drugs, you always have these side effects kind of a
Yes,
thing.
sir.
So, and it's addictive also.
But maybe there is some above level that is yet to be experienced where there is no attachment.
Well, I mean, all the ancient masters have been talking about it poetically, sentimentally, esoterically, but it's about time we bring it to the ground level, you know. And
We are.
to bring it to the ground level, I thought respect and diplomacy will serve that purpose. Let's tell people, let's practice ourselves respect and diplomacy first, where we just genuinely respect uh, everybody in any relationship. We are very diplomatic, which means we don't take anybody for granted. That's what I mean by diplomacy.
So I know that love can be without attachment, but respect and diplomacy is the action. Love is not the action in itself. Love is a feeling as an underlying thing. It is not a practice, but it is not to be compared with respect and diplomacy. Neither is
Yeah.
it an epiphenomenon, sir. It is just there.
No, it is just there, sounds again poetic. Love is associated or originates from a pleasant feeling
Yes, sir.
versus compassion, which originates from an unpleasant feeling. Compassion basically is defined as the desire to alleviate the suffering in yourself and others. So
Yes, sir.
when you see someone hurt or someone suffering, you don't feel great, right? You don't feel pleasant when you see a beggar on the street, right? There is some kind of unpleasantness, and compassion is so amazing that we literally overcome that unpleasantness with some kind of inner strength, some power. We also have to justify why love is a foundation and not the goal, because it's like elementary school stuff. It is derived from pleasure, or it is associated with pleasant feelings. So it doesn't need any willpower, doesn't need self-discipline, it doesn't need leadership, none of those things, right? A child can easily love, but I don't think a child has capacity for compassion.
Sir, it's I mean, love to love and to be loved. So the problem arises when you want to be loved. It's not about when you love someone. I mean, that's giving love is not difficult, sir. receiving love, I mean, is there is where that's where the expectation comes in place.
Yeah, we are talking about giving love only. You're right. Giving love is not difficult, but compassion is. That is why compassion is related to maturity and adulthood versus a child. A
Yeah.
child feels pity. A child feels pity. Like I've seen when I
Yes.
drive with my kids when they were young, they would feel
Mm.
pity when they looked at beggar on the street or all the suffering you see in India, right? They felt
Yes.
pity, but I felt compassion. There is a difference.
I think love is not the foundation of compassion. You said that love arises from pleasant feeling, compassion arises from unpleasant feeling. So when the
Mhm.
sources are different, so how can one be based on the other?
No, source
Okay,
is same feeling.
Yeah, that's
Source is same feeling.
for me, it is not acceptable that compassion is based on or based on love. I think when you are self realized and actualized, you graduate from love to compassion.
That's exactly what I mean by foundation. Is you have to
So,
graduate from things. Just like you have to graduate from peace to power. Graduate means move forward, go beyond, not abandon. Compassion is built upon love, just as you graduate from elementary to middle to high school. And just like in elementary school versus high school, right? You still use A, B, C, D, and 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You still use both, but you don't. But that leads to calculus in high school, correct? You don't
yeah,
study calculus in elementary school, but you still study the numbers. You cannot do calculus without the numbers. You have to know the numbers first, 1, 2, 3, 4, then you can do calculus. Similarly, you have to understand pleasant feelings, then you are able to deal with unpleasant feelings.
but the foundation of bridge is different and the foundation of a house is different.
It's the same.
You
The
just
foundation is the same for house or the bridge. That's what I actually design on a regular basis. The foundations are the same. This is how we include love into our philosophy, and this is how we link it to compassion. Love, peace, happiness, these are all foundational things. We have to have those so we can move on to other things. Growing up, or even a warrior, whether it is Krishna or Shankara or Arjun or Karn or martial artist, they all have to first understand and experience pleasantness and happiness and peace. And only then they can be powerful and great. If they don't experience happiness and peace and still become a warrior, then that warrior is like Hitler, or that warrior is like Genghis Khan. So our warrior is founded in love and peace and happiness and balance. He's founded on that, so that the warrior becomes the great warrior, not the other kind of warrior. Even a gangsters. I mean, I have seen martial artists on both sides of the aisle. One is a gangster and one is a savior, right?
yes.
The gangster one has never experienced peace or happiness from childhood. The gangster
Yes.
one, has never experienced love in the childhood, and that's why they cannot have compassion.
I have one point here, sir. Sir, a warrior need not be a person necessarily with a weapon, or so basically, for example, I would say Mahatma Gandhi was a great warrior because he had compassion, and that's why he was so popular because he could understand people and he could resonate with them, and that's why he became the father of the nation.
what
Oh,
what
absolutely. We have to actually clarify that because people might misunderstand. You're right. The warriors doesn't mean they have a physical weapon, because they don't need one. You can always hire people who can use weapons. Okay. A real warrior is the one who has the attitude of greatness.
Yes, sir.
Like Mahatma Gandhi, you can hire
Yes.
an army of warriors with weapons. You don't have to use one. That mind
So he had the
and
compassion, sir. He had the compassion.
exactly right. He has the compassion, and he could have that compassion because he had experienced love, and he had experienced happiness, and he had studied Bhagavad Gita. you know. But he didn't
Yes.
stop there. He didn't stop there.
Yeah, he could
He
have been
graduated.
very well been a good practicing barrister if he wanted to, but he did not do that. He just did not stick to that. He stepped aside into the freedom struggle.
Or he could have been a sadhu or a god man,
Yes,
right? Which means not great, because god men are all about just feeling good and making you feel good and just
yes, yes,
creating followers rather
yes,
than
yes.
warriors. And so he's a great example.